My first test is going to be my governor cutout test. My cutout occurs when the needle stops rising, no more than 140 psi. You're going to hear the release of air pressure, but you want to make sure that's on this truck. The needle will stop rising because there'll be no more pressure. Okay, now, this primary gauge, I need to make sure that when I start this test, the gauge is below 100 psi, which it is. So I'm going to go ahead and perform a safe start. I'm going to apply the clutch. I'm going to go ahead and turn the gauges on.
10 seconds.
Right, 10, 15 seconds. And then start the truck. Now you can raise your RPMs if you want to, about 1200 RPMs, and it will make the PSI go a little faster to fill the tanks. Not a whole lot, but enough. You want to make sure that you're always looking at that top gauge. Now on this truck, the cutout's going to occur somewhere around 130, 135 PSI. So you want to make sure that you're looking at the gauge. You don't want to be over here looking this way. You hear the release of the air pressure, then look and say, my cutout occurred. They're going to be like, no, you weren't looking at the gauge.
So the test always wants you to look at the gauge, and by pressing on the accelerator, you can also speed up the process.
Right, it increases the PSI.
Increases the PSI. Nice.
Now right now it hasn't gone up at all because we're waiting for the secondary system to catch up with the primary. Okay, now it'll be raising equally. Usually it only takes maybe about 30 seconds for it to, fill. Because it's usually always like at about 110, 120 PSI. But this thing was leaking so much, it really depleted the air.
Yeah, it did.
Okay, now, I'm at 120 PSI. I want to make sure that I'm looking at the gauge. You can bring it over more if you need to. Okay, okay, my cutout occurred at 129 PSI. This is a good test because it was not more than 140 PSI. Okay, now my next test is going to be the cut-in test. My cut-in occurs when the needle starts rising. It should not be less than 100 PSI. Okay, and this is when, like a regular compressor, you're using whatever equipment, and all of a sudden the compressor kicks on. Well, it should always come on above 100 PSI. Okay, so this is how we're going to test that on this truck to prove that it does. We're going to go ahead and we're going to apply the service brake. We're going to wait 15 seconds for the needle to start rising. If it does not, we'll apply the service brake again. Okay, now you're going to see the needle drop. Okay, wherever it drops to, and if it starts rising, that's where it started at. Sometimes you might go down to 112, but you can't tell the needle's moving until it gets like 107. But it'll have started at 112. I meant 117. Okay, so you apply. I'm at 120, so you count 15 seconds. 1,
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Okay, when you get about 13, just hit it again. You don't want to get stuck looking at it. Right now I'm at 113, I would say.
So they wouldn't want you to pump on the brake a couple times?
No, just one time.
Okay.
Okay, my cut-in occurred at 113 PSI. This is a good test.
And now it's because it's starting to rise.
Right, and
okay.
And top part goes down. Here, watch, we'll try it again. Okay, I'm at 109. This is easy to tell because it's right there. Okay, my cut-in occurred at 109 PSI. Yeah, it's not where you start noticing it, it's how far down it went.
Oh, that's like 119, isn't it? Because it's by tens?
You're right.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm calling it low.
I don't know if they need it to be as accurate, or as long as you know what you're talking about.
They want you to be pretty accurate.
Okay.
They don't want you to miss, don't say 109 when it's 119.
Okay.
Okay. Now, my next test is going to be my 460 test. I should not lose more than 4 PSI in 1 minute with the service brake applied. And this test is to show whether or not the truck is losing too much air pressure as you're, using the truck
What's the name of this test again?
The 460. It's called an applied leakage test.
460 applied leakage test.
Right. You should not lose more than 4 psi in 60 seconds. That's where it gets its name, 460. Okay, to do this test, I need to make sure the truck is in low gear. You want to make sure that you've already reached maximum capacity on the air tanks, right?
Okay.
So the cutout occurred, so we know it's full. Put it in low gear, just slam it straight back. You're going to turn the motor off.
First, straight back.
Okay? Yeah. Turn the motor off.
Oh, so you don't leave it in neutral, you leave it in gear.
Right, leave it in gear. Turn the motor off, release the clutch. Turn the gauges on. And this is for another test following. Okay, now we're going to release the parking brake and the trailer brake. And what that's going to do is it's going to isolate just the service brake, the pedal, that system. And that's where we're going to see if we have a leakage, because if you're driving and stopping all the time, anything more than 4 psi in a minute means you need to get it corrected.
Okay.
Okay, so now I'm going to release the parking brake, release the trailer brake. Now I'm going to fully apply the service brake. You want to put your foot like to the bumper, put it down all the way. You're going to let your needle stabilize, and I'm looking at the primary gauge, and it's dropping, and it's continuing to drop.
So it needs to get worked on?
Well, as long as we'll see how far down it goes. Might have to.
It looks like they dropped like maybe 10, 20.
Because right now it's at 90.
Yeah, right now it looks about 90.
Yeah, it's just a little above. Okay. Okay, my needle is stabilized at 91 psi. My minute starts now.
Okay.
Okay. And I just get this little stopwatch and let it go around. It might not be zeroed out, but as long as it goes around for 60 seconds. You got to keep your foot on the brake all the way. The second most important thing, keep your foot on the brake all the way. The third most, keep your foot on the brake. The 196th, keep your foot on the brake. 96 point V, make sure you read the PSI a second time. You don't want to say it stayed the same, didn't move. You've got to say a number. Okay? Right now, we've only gone 30 seconds, so it takes a moment.
It looks like it's only dropped about 1.
Yeah, just maybe, barely.
But for the most part, it'll stay around the same area.
It should say exactly the same.
Okay.
As long as it doesn't lose more than 4 psi in a minute, you're good. Now, if it gets below 80 psi, then it should never go really down that far. It should be higher than that.
It looks like our minute is up.
Okay, my minute is ended. My needle is at 90 psi. This is a good test because I didn't lose more than 4 psi in 1 minute.
Nice.
Now you can release the brake. Okay. Now the next test is going to be the low air warning. Okay, the warning comes on to let you know that your air pressure has gotten, significantly lower. So my low air warning occurs between 75 and 55 psi. It could be a light or a buzzer, and you'll hear it. It'll go beep. Okay, you're going to apply and release the service brake. Just consistent, sharp hits on the brake, service brake. Okay, not too fast. Now you're going to hear the buzzer come on. It needs to stay on for at least 2 seconds. If it just goes eep, that doesn't count. As long as it's on for 2 seconds. Even if it goes off in 3 seconds, that's still it. Okay, now it's always going to happen right around 75 psi. So you want to make sure when you hear it and it stays on for 2 seconds, read the psi, because if you wait, it's going to start equalizing and it'll go up. Okay, so I'm just going to apply and release just like this. The key's on. Houston, we have a problem.
I see like the spring brake is on right here.
Okay.
That's the parking brake.
Right, now you can go by the light. Usually the buzzer always comes on.
This is the regular buzzer, correct? At least that's what I've noticed. This is the buzzer?
No, this is just a warning. But this is the one here that you're gonna wanna watch. Because when that comes on, I just can sit through the steering wheel. The buzzer always comes on. So this is what we got to address. This is the second little issue we've had this morning. First it was the air in the line.
And what's funny is that I heard it all day today with this thing. It was screaming the whole time.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with it. Okay.
But go ahead and continue.
Okay. My low air warning occurred at 75 psi. This is a good test because it was between 75 and 55 psi. Okay, now I'm going to be doing the 45-20 pop-out test. Okay, that's when these spring brakes should pop out between 45 and 20 psi. You're going to apply and release the service brake until the pop-outs occur. A lot of times only this one will pop out first. Read the psi, then continue for the other one. Now, when we're counting the air pressure, that first line...
Pulled already? Oh, okay.
No, they won't. Okay.
This one too?
No, yeah, just leave them in. Okay, now, the first line is 0, right? That you count that as 10. Okay, trust me on this one. There's a reason. And that's because if you count this to 60, it's actually by 12s. And then from 60 on, it's by 10s. Well, the examiners weren't realizing this, and if they fail you, the supervisor cannot overrule it. Never. So the supervisor said just read the first line is 10, and it'll be fine. Okay. Because it comes out the same. If you were to go to 60, you can go by 10s, or you can go by 12s. One's 6 times, one 5 times. So it works out. Okay, so I'm just going to apply and release the brake. Okay, my trailer brake has popped out at 45 psi. I'm going to continue for the parking brake. My parking brake popped out at 27 psi. This is a good test because between 45 and 20 psi. That's all for that. Now, those are the main ones that you do. Now, we're going to be testing the parking brake, trailer brake, and the service brake. To do these tests, I need to build the air pressure to maximum capacity. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the truck into neutral. And the reason we have it in low gear is because when we release the brakes, we don't want the truck rolling. That's why we have it in gear. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and perform a safe start. Apply the clutch. Now, while we're waiting for the air pressure to build up, I'm going to finish the in-cab inspection.
I have one question.
Sure.
What is considered a safe start? When these are applied, correct?
No. Well, the brakes are on, you're in neutral, and you apply the clutch.
Okay.
Mainly, it's you apply the clutch. That way, when you start it, there's no chance of the truck jumping forward.
Okay.
That's what it is. That's what it really is. Okay. So now, I'm going to finish my in-cab inspection. I've already done the seat belt and the seat. My mirror is not broken, properly secured. It's fully adjustable to the driver. The window raises and lowers properly. The door opens and closes properly. I have my air horn for the country or highway. You want to make sure you demonstrate it. The windshield is not broken. It's in one piece. The seal is in one piece. Always clean with no illegal stickers.
Also, they want to see this right here too, right? The sealing on the window?
Yeah, you just mention it. You don't even have to really
touch it, just say it's good?
Yeah, everything here you just pretty much mention it. Okay. Now we have the wipers. The wipers are working properly with the rubber blade in good condition with proper tension to the glass to clean the windshield. The washer is working properly to apply fluid to the windshield. Okay. Now we're going to come over here to the switches. We have our exterior light switch. We have our wiper switch. You want to demonstrate the wipers work. Press it in, then you just turn it off. Press in and down to turn it off. Okay? We have the washer, and we have our ignition switch. All switches working properly. You don't have to mention the cruise or the engine check.
So we have the exterior light.
Yes.
This is the windshield wiper, the washer, and then to turn on the
ignition switch. Right.
Ignition.
Okay. Now we have our gauges. We have our oil pressure gauge, normally reading 30 to 70 psi. Our water temperature gauge, normally reading 175 to 195 degrees, and our battery voltage gauge, normally reading 12 to 15 volts. Okay. We have our tachometer, RPMs, revolutions per minute. We have our speedometer, miles per hour. We have the odometer, that's miles traveled. Okay. We have our fuel gauge, enough fuel to reach our destination, and our primary and secondary air pressure gauges.
Primary, secondary.
Yes. All gauges working properly. Our spring brakes, that would be the parking brake and trailer brake. We have our air conditioner, heater, windshield defroster. You want to demonstrate? The defroster's working properly. That's all they care about is the defroster. Okay? Now, I have my steering wheel, no more than 2 inches of free play. I have my electric horn for the city. You want to demonstrate that? Okay? I have my turn signal switch, high and low beams, and emergency flashers. Okay, you demonstrate each one of them. Now, to cancel the flashers, just turn the signal switch one way or the other. We have our trailer handbrake, the clutch, between 1 to 2 inches of free play. Service brake is properly adjusted. It's not adjusted to the driver, it's properly adjusted. The accelerator is not sticking or binding. Shifter is in good working condition. The boot is properly secured. This is very important. It's properly secured with no holes or tears to prevent any fumes from entering the cab. Okay. Now we have our emergency road gate. We have 3 triangle reflectors in good condition. We have a box of spare fuses and the fire extinguisher, which is fully charged, properly secured with the pin attached.
Where are the triangles at? Am I sitting on them?
Yeah, you're sitting on them right here. Right here. Right, these, right, those are triangle reflectors. Should be 3 of them in good condition. Okay, that ends the in-cab inspection. In-cab's not very difficult. Okay. You just want to practice the sequence. Okay, we're ready for the testing our parking brake. We're going to go ahead.
Test our parking brake.
And we're going to test our parking brake. I'm going to slowly release the clutch. The truck should not drive forward. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the truck into low gear. Okay? We're going to release the trailer brake. This is releasing, pushing it in. Applying it is when you pull out. I'm going to slowly release the clutch. The truck should not drive forward. We'll feel it vibrate. That's all you got to do. So slowly bring up the clutch. Okay, that's all they got to do. No more than that.
The vehicle is not going because
You just have to say
the brake is on.
Like, good test. The truck did not drive forward.
Alrighty.
Now we're going to test the trailer brake. You want to make sure that you apply the trailer brake first, because if you were to push this one in, the truck could roll because this brake's not applied, the service brake's not on, and we're in neutral. So if I press that in, there's nothing holding the truck. So you got to make sure that it's always in control of the truck. So we want to make sure we apply this first. Now release the parking. Slowly release the clutch. The truck should not drive forward, and you'll feel it tug. That's all you got to do. So you lift it slowly. That's it.
Alright.
It's a good test. The truck did not drive forward. Now our last test is going to be the service brake. We're going to pull forward 5 miles an hour. We're going to apply the service brake. The truck should not pull to the left or the right. Now, the way we're going to tell that is we're going to put our hand just above the steering wheel. When we apply the brake, we're going to look to see if the wheel jerks one way or the other. Right now, let me make sure the wheels are straight.
Are you straight? Can you look up? The wheels are straight?
Okay. Now, you notice I haven't touched anything here. We finished the trailer brake test. Okay, you want to make sure, do not release that. Okay, test the service brake. We're going to pull forward 5 miles an hour, apply the service brake, truck should pull to the left or the right. Now, as soon as I release this, I'm going to go ahead and go forward. Okay, I'm going to go forward slowly. Now hit the service brake. Good test. The truck didn't pull to the left or the right. The wheel was turned a little bit. But then basically that's it. It doesn't have to do much. I'll do it one more time.
So you go to 5 miles an hour?
Yeah, you just
stop on the brake and then show that.
Yeah, just slowly hit the brake. Good test. The truck didn't pull.
Oh, so you didn't even have to like press hard, just that it brakes?
That's right.
Okay.
Right. It's real simple. Okay. Now, that concludes my air brake test and in-cab inspection. I'm going to make sure you put it into neutral. Apply the brake. Turn the motor off. Wait until it shuts off before you release the clutch. That way, in case you didn't get it all the way in neutral, the truck does not jump. Okay. That concludes the air brake test and in-cab inspection. Now we can go to the outside. You can pause your video.